Now that we've completed modeling, it's time to start adding lights and materials to make this scene look amazing. So let's start by hiding our sidebar panel, and then we're going to head over to our render settings, and then for render engine we're going to be using cycles, and then for device I'm going to be using my graphics card, but you can use either. Now that we have our render settings set up, we can either click on this icon at the top, or we can press Z and then select rendered, and this is going to start rendering. And immediately you'll notice everything turns dark. That's because we have no lights in the scene, so we're going to press Shift C to center our 3D cursor, and then we're going to add an area light. So let's open add menu and then add an area light. Now we're going to move it along the Z axis, and then we're going to scale it up so that we have softer shadows, and then under our light settings we're going to increase the power. So now we have some lights in our scene, and it's time to start adding materials. Now this keyboard is floating up, so I'm going to just try and move it just a tiny bit down. And we can start adding material from this keyboard. So we're going to select the keyboard, head over to Materials tab, and here we can add new slots. So by default we're going to click on this new to create a new material, and this material is going to be automatically applied to our entire object since it's the first in order. And then we can type in a name like keyboard main. Now to add additional materials, we just click on this plus icon to add a slot, and then we can either create a new material or pick one from our existing materials. In this case we need a new material, and then we're going to rename this to keyboard accent, and we're going to change it to something like this blue color. Finally we're going to add one more slot and create a new material, and this is going to be keyboard escape. Now you can use a different naming convention, and just use something that's easier for you to remember, and we're going to make it red color. Now this first material is automatically applied to our entire object, but if we want to apply these other materials we have to tell Blender where we want these materials. So we're going to tap into edit mode. Using the face selection mode, we can hover our cursor over these buttons and then use link selection by pressing L, and this is going to allow us to select these buttons very easily. And then with this material selected, we can click assign, and it's going to be applied. And then we're going to left click here to deselect previous selection, and then press L again to make a selection, and then select this red material and apply. So just like that we have the material applied, and then we're going to select the outer part of the keyboard, and we're going to use our existing keyboard accent, and we're not going to create a new one for it. And just like that we have the material applied. Also I'm going to apply the material to some of these inside buttons, so I'm going to go ahead and select make a selection around these buttons, and then I'm going to use my accent color there. Now we're going to use same process for these two keyboards, because there's a minor change that I'd like to go over. So we're going to zoom in here on this keyboard, and for our keyboard main we're going to use the same material, and then we're going to add a new slot, and we're going to use our keyboard accent, and finally one more slot, and we're going to use the keyboard escape. So we're using our existing materials. It's time to assign them. So again, using the same technique, we're going to go ahead and make a selection around these buttons, and then apply our accent color, and then same thing with this escape. Let's select our outer frame and assign our keyboard accent. So now you can see that both keyboards have same material, but if we change the material that we assign, since it's using the same material, it's going to apply across both objects. So that's not something that we want, so we're going to Control Z that. Now if we want to use settings from our previous materials, and just like here, then we can create a copy of this existing material. Since we already selected that, all we have to do is just click on this icon, and you can see it says keyboard accent 001. So now it's a different material than the one that we initially created. So now we can just simply go ahead and edit the color. And then for the keyboard, we're going to change that to the accent color, just like that. And now we can use the same technique for coloring this second keyboard. Now before we move on to that, I'd like to go over coloring multiple objects. So in this case, you can see that each individual leaf is a separate object, and to apply same material over and over again, that's going to be a bit annoying. So we're going to go over that. First, I'm going to enable the selection for some of these collections at the top. Now if we go back to you can go to this material preview to make it a bit easier to work with, since it doesn't need rendering. So now if we select one of the leaf and then create a new material for it, and we're going to change roughness to about 0.8, and let's give it a green color. Reduce the brightness a little bit. So now that we have this material, if we want to apply it to across all of these objects, it's going to be pretty simple. So we're going to select the stem since it's the parent object, and then we're going to press shift right bracket to select all the children, and then we're going to shift click on this leaf which has the material. So whichever object you want to copy the materials from, you have to make sure it's an active selection, and then you can press Ctrl L, and then you can link the materials, or you can also just click on this button and select copy material to select it. And just like that, we have that. And for the bottom object, we're going to create a new material called floor path, and then we're going to create one more material, and this is going to be for the dirt, and we're going to add roughness so that there's very little reflection. And then we're going to tap into edit mode. Using the face selection mode, we're going to select this inner face to look at it better, enable the X-ray mode. So there's our face, and we can press Control plus to add to our selection so that we can select both parts like that. And then we're going to turn off the X-ray mode and select the dirt material, assign, and now we can play around with the material. And now using the very same technique, we're going to apply to the other objects. So I'm going to go ahead and select these stems, and then select one of this object, and then apply, copy the material over. Now the leaves aren't material because we're using a particle system, so we need to add material to the reference object. So we're going to go ahead and copy the material. And again, select the parent object, use the shift right bracket, and then copy the materials over. And for the path object, we're just going to type in flower path for the main material. And then for the dirt, we're going to use just like that. And then again, using the face selection mode, we can use grow selection option and then assign the material. And then I'm going to use the same technique for the rest of these objects. So from here, I'll go over and sort of speed through this. Because I want you to do it yourself so that the room that you make looks completely unique and different, because you'll have this sort of exercise and a fun challenge to go over this since you already know how it's going to work. Okay, so for this Nintendo Switch, adding materials are going to be a little bit different. So we need to apply these modifiers because right now it's a single object and I want to apply materials to both parts of this object. And since it's a combined object, you can see, so I have to apply these modifiers to make each part individual. So I'll go ahead and press Ctrl A to apply all these. And now you can see that these are two separate sort of parts, and then using the link selection, I will be able to apply this material. So let's add a new material slot, and we can type in the name for this one. Let's go ahead and add the second material, and we're going to go ahead and copy this material name and paste it here. So we have the same material, and we're going to create a copy of that. Let's change our name to right. So the second material and the first one you can see. So let's go ahead and change the colors first, and it's going to apply on the both sides of the console. And then we can change the second material color, tap into edit mode, and we can use L to link select the second material and assign it. And just like that, we have two separate colors for this console. Alright, so we're almost done with the adding materials. You can see that I've added almost all of the materials. Let's go ahead and make one for walls. And then I'm going to click on the color. I am going with this blue color. Let's go with this ocean color. Alright, And also let's just add some sort of base below the room so that it looks better when we render out our images. So let's add a simple plane object, and then we can just scale it up like that. And we might need to make some minor adjustments here, just like that. Okay, let's just take a look at how it's looking so far. Not bad. Now to add these painting materials, you can click on this color box, select open, and then select the image from your computer. Once you have the image applied, you can see that we need to assign it. So in edit mode, I'm going to assign this painting material to this one face of this object. And now we can go ahead and switch to UV editing because we need to make some minor adjustment here. So let's just zoom in real quick onto this painting. And I think we can just use scroll wheel to scroll and then go to material preview so that we can see it in our viewport. Now, to be able to sort of use this textures properly, we need to press U to open unwrap menu and smart UV project, and then select OK. And you can see that on the left side we got this plane, and at the top we have few modes here. So let's go to face selection mode. There's island selection mode. It's going to give you similar effect. Then we can select edges or vertices. In this case I'm going to go with face selection, and then we can use the standard controls like G to grab, R to rotate, and we can also sort of scale it. So let's rotate this 180 degrees. And on the right side, you can see that I can see how it's turning out on that side. So G to grab and move it, sort of align it there. S to scale, and let's just sort of align it there. And just like that, we have painting. And now let's use that same technique for adding material, or this painting material, to second painting. So let's go ahead and select material tab, click on the new slot, new material, and then let's type in the name. And now for the base color, we're just going to click on this button, image texture, and then click on the button, select the texture from our computer. With that texture loaded, let's go ahead and tap into edit mode, select that face, and assign this new painting material. Now we need to unwrap it, so let's go ahead and go back into edit mode. So we have this face, but it's not proper, so let's press U, smart UV project, OK, and we got that face. Let's just adjust this. So R to rotate 180 degrees, S to scale, and then we can just move it slightly and adjust it until we're happy. And just like that, we have this applied. Let's repeat the same process for the final painting. Okay, so there we have it, all the paintings and everything added. Now from here, we can just change colors and render this scene in a lot of different styles. So it's going to be really easy once we apply these materials. Also, I'm going to go ahead and move this chair to a new collection. So I'm going to select using the same chair children selection technique. And let's go ahead and move this into a new gaming chair collection so that I can hide it in the final render more easily. So just like that, we can hide the chair and we have our materials added.